I tell you what, that's the wonderful thing about Zoom, is that you can see the brave face of the person you're chatting to. No longer does it just have to be via the telephone. Now you can actually look at them in the eyes, and they can look at you in the eyes, and they can see whether you dressed appropriately for the conversation or not. Hopefully I've dressed appropriately for Brandon. Good morning to you, Brandon Garbutt, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Guy. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. And I can assure you I'm actually wearing pants under this table.
Are you? You know what I love about these Zoom meetings is I'm always intrigued at the background. And yeah. I'm looking in the background of you. I'm going, are those certificates? Is that art? That looks really great on the wall behind you.
No, so I mean, I've had to fill up the office a bit with some certificates. I mean, you have to say that you do have some form of a pedigree, but they are old certificates, so nothing is recent. I don't give my age away. So don't go on the years. Don't focus on the years. I'll give my age away there.
No, we can't see that far. You're okay. Brandon is the managing director of Capital Legacy, and as we've been mentioning to you, it's something that you need to consider. It's something you need to action, not just consider. Because I think a lot of us sit and think about, I should actually do a will. I think I should maybe, but you don't get on it. So we've decided today to give you a little kick up the butt, if you will. We are live on Facebook as well. And of course, if you need to revisit this interview, you're more than welcome to do so. So let's start off with the most obvious question for you, Brandon. Who is Capital Legacy?
Thanks, Guy. And thanks for the listeners for giving us this opportunity. So Capital Legacy, we've been around for 8 years, almost a decade now. We're the largest provider of wills in South Africa at the moment. And what we do is a bit different. We obviously draft the wills. We administer estates when a person passes away. What really makes us different is we actually also offer a unique solution that actually covers the costs when one would pass away when we actually draft the will. Because people are actually unaware of the costs that actually occur when you pass away. And usually the family or beneficiaries get caught blindsided by this. And what we do is when we actually draft the will, we offer you this unique solution. That is an optional that you can take optionally when you do the will. And this will cover the costs when you pass away. And what's quite nice also is our will drafting, when we do the will drafting, it's at no cost. And our consultants actually come out to you at your convenience, whether it's at your home, whether it's at your work, whether it's over the weekends, whether it's nighttime, after hours. That's what really makes us unique. We actually just want to really get out there and make sure that every South African has a valid and up-to-date will, which I think is quite important.
You've mentioned it already, just touching on it, that there's a large amount of costs associated. So I think the next question is, what are the consequences of not having a will?
So the consequences is, so people often ask, but Brandon, like, I don't have much money, or I don't have much wealth. What is the need for me to actually have a will? And if you do not have the will, you forfeit the opportunity to decide who inherits what. So in other words, if you have a will, you can actually decide who actually inherits those assets that you're leaving. And assets don't always have to be monetary. It's sort of if you want to distribute certain things that have been in your family for a long time, you actually want to pass it on to certain individuals. That's what you obviously set up in a will. What's very important, and what I actually always try and get across, especially when we do talks, is especially if you have children, to set up a will is super important. And the reason being, if you have a child and they're a minor, so in other words, they're under 18, and you actually don't have a will, what happens to all inheritances, if it's from an asset point of view, will actually go into the guardians fund, which is actually based with the government. And then every single time you want to draw from those assets, you actually have to make an application to the guardians fund to actually withdraw those assets, which I think we all know could actually be quite a lengthy process. So if you're obviously having the will drawn up, you actually can stipulate that you actually want these assets to go into a trust, which will automatically pay out to the beneficiaries, being the minors or the children. So these are the kind of things that I always tell people why it's important to have a will, is because you obviously want to be able to have the opportunity to say, this is where I want these assets to go. Or else what's going to happen is the master of the court is going to appoint their own executor, and you actually will have had no say in how you actually want your assets distributed.
Sure. So I suppose the next question is, when is the appropriate time to draft a will, and I presume it's right now.
Exactly. So everyone always asks me, they say, well, when should I draft a will? At what age?
Yeah,
You know,
and after, is it after you've bought that house, when you finished renting? Is it when you finally buy that car that you've been leasing? Well, those sort of things.
Yeah, so I think hit the nail on the head there now, is you must do it now. There is never a correct time to draft a will. What I always say is we very much are advocates of financial advisors going out and providing financial service, and part of that financial service is to draft or update a will. And so we say every single time that you are updating your financial plan, which should be every year you're seeing your advisor, you should be just checking your will at the same time, and just checking that everything's still in place. I also say as soon as there's a life-changing moment happening, so what could that be? That could be purchasing a new property, it could be getting married, it could be having a child. As soon as you have that life-changing moment, it's a good time to either get the will or to update the will. But you know, as our tagline says, life can be unexpected. So you know, you never know what's going to actually happen. So you can't say, well, I'll do it then, or I'll do it later. You know, something can happen to you in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So go out and get your will done now.
We're chatting with Brandon Garbutt, the Managing Director of Capital Legacy. And indeed, their focus is on wills. But by the sounds of it, there is also an insurance that you carry that helps with the whole procedures around that as well, hey?
Yes. So what we do is, for some of the listeners who are actually unaware, unfortunately, when you pass away, there are certain costs that are involved. And those costs are the legal costs when winding up an estate. So those legal costs can be, I'm sure listeners have heard of, executor fees. So those executor fees can be anywhere from 3.5% of the gross value of the estate that the executor actually charges. There's costs around a testamentary trust if you want to leave your money within a trust to your minors, as well as property. You have to transfer property from one name to another, and a conveyancing attorney needs to do it. And these are costs that people actually don't think about. And what our product does is it actually indemnifies you or protects you from those costs when you pass away, so that what you intend to leave is actually what's left to the beneficiaries or heirs.
Sure, that's powerful. We've had the advert running for the last couple of days here on Magic. It follows on our 9 o'clock news bulletin. And I'm intrigued. I just need to know a bit more about why did you choose this approach of showcasing stats on unexpected ways people die? I think the one we've got is nearly 22 people die by being sat on by a dairy cow.
So Guy, you know, I mean, it's not a great topic. Let's be honest with the listeners. Not everyone wants to talk about when they pass away or talk about death. But we do want to actually, especially in this time, what's actually happening, we want people to sit up and take notice. And South Africans can usually relate to a bit of humor. I think the way that South Africans live, if you don't have a sense of humor, it's going to be a deep and dark place. So we thought we'd bring a bit of humor to try and get our story across of why it's actually important to have a will, and that life can be unexpected. Who would have thought that 22 people would pass away by being sat on by a dairy cow? You know, we've also got the one with how many people actually die from being hit on the head by a coconut. And what it's to create conversation, so that people actually realize, sure, I don't know what's going to happen next. Let me make sure I've got my will in place, and because I never know what's going to happen.
I believe you're planning an industry-wide launch on the 13th of August. Can you tell us a little bit more about that just finally?
Yeah, we are. We indeed. We're having a launch on the 13th. It's obviously going to be streamed, obviously, with what's happening. But we're wanting it to be probably one of the biggest launches in financial services this year. We want to take a sort of a holistic view of how the market looks at financial services and how to protect oneself. And what makes Capital Legacy unique is we often spot what are the gaps are within financial services that we can actually look at and provide a solution for the customer out there. So I don't want to give away too much. I mean, going further up to the 13th of August, I'll try to give a bit more away, but it's definitely going to be something different, something for that to bring to the market.
Excellent. Well, we wait in anticipation for that. As we all know, life can be unexpected. So it's important to have a will and to keep that up to date. So Brandon Garbutt, thank you for your time this morning, Managing Director of Capital Legacy. And I look forward to hearing even more about the wonderful services that you offer. Perfect. Back to the music we go now. And it's Prince with 1999. Thank you very much, Brandon. Appreciate it.
No, thanks, Guy. Thanks for the opportunity.
Excellent chatting with you. And I think also the one thing that is probably done in the advert, which I'll do now following the song, but also for those watching on Facebook, to get a hold of you, capitallegacy.co.za.
Yeah, so www.capitallegacy.co.za. It's very easy to get hold of us through the website. There's many ways. Obviously, email, contact details are all there. Yeah, easy to get hold of us there.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's always fundamental that we give the contact details. People go, yeah, but now how do I find these people? So now we know.
You're going to get inundated with people going, that's cool. And then you're going to become like an admin PA.
Well, excellent. I look forward to chatting with you more, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Perfect. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
I've got to say this. I was going to say it on air, but I didn't want to dumb down your messaging. So I'm just going to get it off my chest right now and say, Brandon, where there's a will, there's a way.